Hello and welcome to the Fuel Run Recover podcast. I'm your host, Stephanie Natchuk, registered dietitian, running coach, marathon runner, and mom. This season, we're breaking down running's biggest trends, hot topics, and myths, and turning them into practical nutrition and training advice you can actually use every day. Let's get into it. Hey there. Before we get into this week's episode, I want to just take a minute to invite you to a free webinar that I'm hosting on Wednesday, May the 6th. It's my Fuel Smarter, Run Stronger webinar. If you are stuck in a running rut, if you are constantly battling food cravings, if you just cannot seem to get any changes on the scale or with your body composition, and you're tired of bonking on your long runs and raiding the kitchen every night like a hungry trash panda, then I really want you to save a spot and join me live for this workshop. In it, I'm going to share with you why most of the nutrition advice that you hear online is just wrong when it comes to runners, and honestly, why a lot of the nutrition advice that you hear from family, friends, or maybe even your doctor is not great advice if you're a runner. And I'll also be sharing with you the key strategies that you need to really level up your running performance, have better quality workouts, start getting closer to your PR goals, and most of all, stop constantly battling cravings and feel like food is just so complicated, so confusing, and so overwhelming. So once again, this is my Fuel Smarter, Run Stronger webinar. It's on May the 6th, and you can save your spot for this event at the link in the show notes. All right, hope to see you there. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Fuel Run Recover podcast. But this episode today is a little bit off the cuff. It's come together very quickly, and I'll sort of tell you why. So today we are talking about protein sodas, and I am giving kind of my thorough review and overview of protein sodas and what I think about them, the ones I've tried, and just some things to be on the lookout for if this is a product that you've been enjoying, that you're interested in trying, that you want to learn a little bit more about. So I previously have tried a few different protein soda beverages. And when I say protein soda, I mean like a generally canned beverage. May or may not be carbonated. I think a lot of them are, but definitely some aren't. And I'm trying to remember the ones that I tried when I was in New York for the marathon in the fall, if they were carbonated or not. And I honestly cannot remember. All I remember is that they were good. And then I was searching for them here when I got home to Winnipeg, going into like different supplement stores and like asking, like, do you guys have these? And they were like, no. And then, sold me some other stuff instead that just wasn't quite the same. And I was like really on the hunt for finding a good protein soda. Because if there's one thing that you need to know about me, it's that I am at my core not a big protein powder girly. I have protein powder. I drink protein shakes regularly. When I'm doing a lot of training, I would go so far as to say I drink a protein shake almost daily. Do I enjoy my protein shake? No. Do I look forward to drinking this protein shake? No. And so whenever there's like a yummier, more refreshing, different option out there, like I immediately want this thing, right? I have tried so many different protein powders, so many different protein bars, like just so many different things, and I feel like I am still at this stage of my life searching for that like really good protein supplement that just like checks all of my boxes. So the hunt continues. Came home from New York and I was like, oh, these protein sodas, like they're so great. And of course, after just having run a marathon, it was wonderful to be like walking around afterwards and like sipping on this, getting in an extra 20 or 30 grams of protein as I'm just like enjoying New York City and that sort of thing. So it also really filled a gap that I needed in that moment from a recovery perspective. So protein sodas as a whole are kind of a newer trend on the market. Clear protein beverages, like a protein sort of juice, not really that new. I have had, and there was even a little kind of phase of like what they called protein waters that were like flavored clear protein beverages. So it's been around for a little while, but this kind of idea of like a canned carbonated like pop type drink that also has added protein, I would say is just probably within the last couple of years. At least, it's been on the rise. And it's sort of this natural progression, I think, of the beverage industry, looking at trends in food, products of like protein really being a super hot thing right now. And of course, beverage makers want to get in on this protein trend, but also this idea of, people wanting better for you alternatives to products that we already enjoy, right? Who doesn't love to like drink something yummy, right? If you're a pop fan, a lot of people who enjoy drinking things like pop, a big reason is they like the carbonation, you like the bubbles, that's why these carbonated like the flavored waters, like the bubblies. I mean, oh my goodness, have they just like absolutely taken over, the beverage industry, right? And so then you've got like the alternatives to pop, like the low sugar, sugar free, still gives you that like bubbly carbonation that people are usually looking for. But then you've got like the poppy sodas and things like that that have like the prebiotics or the probiotics, sorry, in them. Ones that have like are just natural sweeteners, no artificial ingredients, obviously sugar free, and all of these different things out there. So then sort of this like, okay, well, let's add protein to it and make it like now a protein thing. I mean, that's like, we're all going to be hopping on board, right? And I'm, like I said, I'm gonna be first in line. Because as important as it is to get protein at our meals, and I'm going to talk about kind of the difference between like food protein and getting protein with your meals and like having a can of protein soda. But like it's sort of filling that in between for me, right? It's sort of, on a day where I've just finished a run and I got somewhere else to be. I need something convenient. I want something good. I want something refreshing and cold. I don't just want a scoop of whey protein mixed with milk. I don't know. Like, and maybe you really love your whey protein that you have, and maybe I just have not yet found my perfect protein shake. But anyway, so yeah, now, from what I have seen, obviously, I am not an expert on all of the different brands and options and things that are out there. Even what I was finding in my research looking into this to do this episode for you was that even within brands, there is a tremendous variation sometimes in what they sell and what they offer. So anyway, I've been on the hunt for protein sodas, and there have been a couple of companies that are actually Canadian, which is lovely. Available only though to order online. When I start to look at like the shipping costs, right? I mean, you're shipping like beverages in cans, like this is very heavy, very expensive to ship. The price to me was just like, I just, I can't justify, spending almost $100 on 12 cans of pop, right? But anyway, so yesterday I was at Walmart with my kids, and I'm, walking through Walmart, heading to the checkout. We've got the couple of things we needed, and I'm like, what is this? Protein soda. 30 grams a can. A 4-pack. Okay. Like I was like immediately, like didn't even think twice. I'm just like, this is for me, right? So grab these protein sodas, 4-pack, and 30 grams per can. Now, this is important because I had previously seen protein sodas at my local Costco, and I was like, oh, cool, protein soda. When I look closer, 4 grams in a can, 4 grams. I'm like, get real. I'm not buying this for 4 grams in a can. Like that's almost 0 grams, right? But this one had 30. Now it's very interesting. These are the same brand. So these two products, the 40-gram version and the 30-gram version, two different lines from the same brand. And this is what I mean when I say that like you really got to like look at the labels. You really got to like read the ingredients, read the nutrition facts. Just simply the term protein on something does not mean that it has a decent amount of protein or perhaps the kind of protein that we necessarily want to be getting in that moment. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that as we go on here. So anyway, in the protein soda market, you are looking at a fairly wide range of how much protein you may find in a can. And of course, the can size can vary a bit too. A lot of the ones I've seen have been like kind of the slim cans, like, I don't know, maybe they're like 355 mLs or something like that. But there are also ones that come in sort of like those bigger servings too. They may have more protein per can, but not always. So yeah, typically these are going to have like fruity flavors. Some of them have like candy sort of flavors. They're going to be very clear. Like if you pour it into a glass, it's not milky or it's like lighter than a typical protein shake, even though it does have, a lot of them are going to use whey protein. And then they're typically going to be sugar free. Not all of them. Some might be sweetened with fruit juice or something else, but they're typically going to be higher protein, lower carb is sort of what the vibe is. And price wise, you're kind of looking anywhere from like $3 to $6 a can. Why the price difference between brands? Who knows, right? Why is one can $3, one can $6? Anyone's guess. But that's kind of the range that I've seen is somewhere between $3 and $6 per can. So these are not inexpensive, right? I think $3 a serving isn't like terrible, still a lot more than what you're going to pay for like a protein bar or a scoop of whey protein that you're making the shake yourself, or like a serving of real food protein, obviously, especially those plant proteins. So they're pricey. I see it as like a treat, not something that I'm going to be having every single day or like totally stocking my fridge with these things. But I do really think for a lot of us, there's a time and a place where these can be a fun thing or a good thing to include as part of our nutrition strategy. The biggest question that I've been getting, like the number one thing, so I posted about this on my Instagram, of course, shared that I had bought these, and I was like, hey, do you guys want a review? Of course, everybody said yes, they want my review. The biggest question that people were DMing me with was taste. How does it taste? How is it? I've seen them, I'm curious, what does it taste like? Honestly, I think they taste fabulous. I think they are really good. And again, this is coming from someone who is not a protein shake person. I do not enjoy like drinking all the different protein shakes. There are very few pre-made protein shakes that I've had that I'm like, ooh, I definitely want to like have that again, buy that again kind of thing. I'm pretty particular and pretty picky. And when it comes to supplements, I am incredibly picky about taste. I have such a hard time with the taste of so many supplements. And I think that one of the reasons is because I am actually what we call a bitter super taster. So what that means is that like the bitterness that we can get from different foods or different supplements, I have the genetic variation that causes me to taste the bitterness in food more than of everybody else, right? Like more than people who have the typical variant of those genes. So being a bitter super taster means that like any bitterness from supplements, like different ingredients and things like that, like all I taste is just the pure bitterness. So there's a ton of different supplements, different powders and all kinds of stuff I've tried, and I just like cannot get past how bad they taste to me. And so I think that's part of the reason why I'm like so picky about this stuff. But anyway, the protein sodas, all the ones that I have tried have been very much drinkable, and I dare say even have tasted really good, and I've enjoyed them immensely. So I think they do a really good job with the flavors of these. Obviously, a lot of them are going to be artificially sweetened. Some may use natural sweeteners. I have not seen any that have like sugar as their primary sweetener, but like if we were making like a recovery beverage, that wouldn't be the end of the world. But for the most part, of course, people want sugar-free drinks, right? Like the time and the place where an athlete needs a recovery beverage and they want something with carbs and protein, that's going to be a pretty small market for these beverage companies. So 99% of the time, they're going to be pretty low in sugar. Now, when it comes to the protein content and the nutrition content of these products, this is where things can get a little bit murkier and a little bit muddier. So like, okay, if you're okay with the cost, great. If you like the taste, great. You're picking one that doesn't only have 4 grams of protein per can because like you can absolutely miss me with that mess. But let's say you're looking at one that has like 20 to 30 grams of protein per can. Looks great, right? Look at the label, look at the ingredient list. And what I want people to just be aware of, again, this is not like a good, bad kind of judgment thing, but just I want us to be aware and all kind of understand, is that some of these products, not all of them, but some of them are using a combination or a blend of collagen and whey protein. And so the thing about that is that from a quality perspective, like if we're talking about the quality of a protein source, collagen is very low quality because of its limited amino acid profile compared to, say, whey protein. So these complete proteins, so proteins that contain all 9 essential amino acids that we need for our bodies, particularly for workout recovery, right? So there are specific amino acids that are found most abundantly in our muscle tissue. Whey in particular is very high in these specific amino acids, and that's why whey protein is kind of the gold standard for like exercise recovery, right? Collagen, on the other hand, while collagen protein does contain amino acids that we find in the collagen structures in our bodies, our connective tissues, etc., there is less research on supplemental collagen and that impact that it has on our joints. Now, there is some evidence, right? Is it like super strong, really robust, really fantastic evidence? No, right? But there's a lot of things in nutrition that I just don't know that we're ever going to have that type of evidence for. I don't know. I mean, I can't predict the future. Now, are people out there like getting hurt by taking collagen supplements? Probably not, right? Like it's a very low risk kind of thing to do. But the issue is if we think that we are taking, say, 30 grams of whey protein, like the equivalent of taking a scoop of whey protein powder in this protein soda, when in reality, we are getting 20 grams of collagen protein. Again, not necessarily harmful, just not the same as the whey protein from a amino acid profile perspective or a like recovery perspective. And then we are only getting 10 grams of whey protein, and we are making different choices with our eating for the rest of the day, thinking we have ticked a box that we have in fact not ticked, right? So we want like, and the issue that I have is that the companies who are creating these products, they do not have to disclose on their label or on their website or anywhere out of their protein blend how many grams is collagen versus whey, right? So they can say there is 20 or 30 grams of protein in this product. But if you have 20 grams of collagen, 10 grams of whey, or you have 25 grams of collagen and 5 grams of whey, or I don't know, 5 grams of collagen, 25 grams of whey, right? Those are very different, and they do not have to tell you how much of what is in there. So something to just be aware of, right? That you may not be actually getting what you believe you are getting, right? Like if you see 30 grams of protein on a can label, you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's like a piece of chicken. Like, great, right? I'm going to have that with my lunch instead of having to bother with this chicken. May not be the same thing, right? May not be the same actual nutritional value. The other thing is that like you can look at the ingredient list, and ingredient lists in Canada, I'm assuming other countries are the same, but I don't know that for 100% for certain. In Canada, on our ingredient lists, ingredients are listed by proportion in the food product. So the things that are listed, like the first ingredient is the highest amount in that product. I believe it's by weight. So like in a beverage, the first ingredient is almost always going to be water, right? Might be water, might be carbonated water, etc. And then the second ingredient is what's in there next to water in terms of amount. And then it goes down from there. So the ingredients that are first are the most prominent ingredients of that product. The ones at the end are going to be lesser amounts. So the protein soda that I had tried and purchased actually had collagen protein listed before whey protein on the label. What that means is that there is in fact more collagen protein versus whey protein in that can. Now, how much more? What's the split? I have no idea, right? That information isn't broken down for me. All that you're going to get on the nutrition facts panel is the total amount of protein. But that means that like, if I was looking to that to be like a really great recovery beverage, may not be my best bet. Is it still like yummy to sip on? Yes. Is it doing me harm? No, right? Is it expensive? Yes. But for a fun little treat, why not, right? But we just want to I just want to make sure that you guys know what to look for, what to look out for, and how to maybe choose a product that might be a better fit for you. Now, like I said, what's really interesting is that this brand on their website, I didn't see these in store, but like on the website actually has other whey protein only versions of their product. And so I'd be interested to like kind of compare and sort of see. It was still 30 grams of protein, but it was whey only. There was no collagen. So why would a company do this, right? Like there are a lot of protein sodas that I was looking at online and I've seen that are just whey protein only. There are also a lot that are whey plus collagen to some degree. What the split is exactly, like I said, I don't know. Some of it has to do with the properties of the final product, right? Whey comes from dairy. Whey is sort of inherently milky in a protein shake kind of setting, right? Like even if you get an unflavored whey, the product that you get is still like a milky sort of product. And that's not always what companies are going for, especially when you add other ingredients, right? Things like carbonation, different flavors, acidity, etc., things that go into making a soda. If you have that mixed with whey protein, the outcome can be maybe not the best texture, not the best look, right? You want something clear, not milky, etc. So using a blend of whey and collagen means that you can get a more desirable looking product with specific properties that you're trying to achieve. Of course, the other thing comes down to the marketing, right? Collagen is really hot right now. Just like protein being added to every little thing we eat, you can find protein added to just about everything, including our beverages. Collagen is also like having a really hot moment as a supplement, right? So it also might be a little bit of a marketing thing to say, oh, like this has collagen and you can like, this is not just a workout recovery drink like we think of with whey, but also now become something that's good for, say, like your skin, hair, nails, etc. Again, how much scientific truth there is to that statement, debatable, but the marketing is really what it comes down to. And again, like, these products with this added protein, like they're not actively doing harm. They are not dangerous things to be having in our food. I just want people to not be misled and think that they're getting something that they're not. Okay. So the other thing that I think is really important to kind of recognize and have a conversation about, because this comes up a lot when I'm working with clients, is like, what's the difference between, say, drinking your protein in something like a protein shake or a protein soda and like eating protein from food? Because there is a difference. And I think it's really important to kind of break that down and have that conversation about why we would maybe choose one versus the other. And, you know, I think both can exist in our diet, but we do want to be mindful that we're not over relying on the convenient sort of protein added, almost like just checking the box to check the box kind of products. Because there is a tremendously deeper level of nutritional value in a food protein versus a protein drink. Food, of course, has vitamins and minerals. Specifically, the foods that we eat that have protein, depending on what exactly you're choosing, whether it's like eggs, fish, meat, dairy, plant proteins, etc., you're going to be getting iron, zinc, choline, vitamin B12, calcium, omega-3 fats, magnesium, potassium, like to just name a few, right? You are getting a lot of vitamins and minerals in these different protein foods that we eat. So not only are you getting more nutritional value and like checking off more boxes nutritionally by having food versus just like drinking protein added drinks, but you are also going to be more full and more satisfied after consuming that food versus drinking a protein drink. Like, I'll just give an example of when I was drinking my protein soda most recently. I drank this can of protein soda. It has 30 grams of protein in it. I did not feel as though I had consumed 30 grams of protein. Like, not even a little bit, right? I was just as hungry just as soon after my last meal than I normally am. The extra 30 grams of protein that I drank in that soda meant absolutely nothing in terms of like my hunger levels or my satisfaction levels. Now, again, the protein that I had was much higher in collagen than in whey. Does that make a difference? Potentially, right? Like that could be having an impact. Now, if you are someone who really needs to try to get your protein intake up, and you have a hard time getting in enough food, then this is great, right? Getting in more protein with less fullness and satisfaction, like perfect scenario, right? But for people who are really needing to focus on like that diet quality, get in more protein because of the fullness, because of the nutrients, etc., then this could be taking away from that, and it may ultimately not be a great thing. And so I see this a lot in clients who are like relying heavily on sort of protein added types of foods, like that is just like the added whey protein to lots of things, is that their macronutrient intake might look good, their calories might look good. But when we kind of take that closer look, that deeper look at the quality of their diet, a lot of those vitamins and minerals are lacking when they realistically shouldn't be if we were getting in all of that same amount of protein from real whole food sources. So like if we're talking about even the difference between a 30-gram like whey protein shake that say you've like mixed with milk and a 30-gram whey protein soda, right? The protein content could be equivalent in those two scenarios, but like very different nutrition wise. Now, if you were to do 30 grams of protein in, say, like a Greek yogurt bowl, and you top that with some fruit and some nuts and some hemp hearts and, all kinds of things to get you up to that 30 grams, again, the nutritional value and the vitamin and mineral content is very different. But at the same time, we have to understand that, like, taking the time to make that yogurt bowl and have all the stuff and eat it. And, it's not always convenient to eat yogurt. Like, if you're in the car or something, that might not work. There's a time and a place for all of these things, but we want to do food first whenever and wherever possible. All right. So at the end of the day, once we've kind of factored in the questions around the nutritional value and nutritional content of these products, right? If we are looking at something that's like a collagen blend, seeing, reaching out to the company, seeing if you can find out what the breakdown is. And I highly doubt they're going to like reveal that information, but I don't know. But just being mindful of like, what's the quality of the protein that I'm getting here? Or is my goal to supplement collagen, in which case, like, cool, right? Then here you go. You don't know how much you're getting, but it's, potentially going to be even higher than the amount of whey protein, like, for example, in the one that I tried. The other thing is, of course, factoring in the cost. I don't want anybody going broke drinking these protein sodas. I think that they are really nice as a treat. Like for me, on a hot day, when I've just finished a morning long run and it's like, getting close to lunchtime, but I got to run after my kids and take them to the park and they're ready to go to the beach and do all the things. And I have to like get home and get turned around and get like ready to continue with life as quickly as humanly possible. I very much could see myself enjoying something like this while doing that quick turnaround to get to my next activity, right? Am I going to drink one of these every single day? No, absolutely not, right? Am I going to rely on it as like a main source of nutrition, even at a meal? Probably not, right? Because again, like we want to be getting in fiber, we want to be getting in vitamins and minerals, we want to be getting in things that are going to keep us full and satisfied for longer after eating. And a protein soda, in my opinion, doesn't quite fill that gap. But for something that is refreshing, tasty, convenient, easy on the go, you can have them in your fridge and grab one when you need it. I do think that there's like a real place for this, especially for those of us who do not always just love your plain Jane protein shakes and want to shake it up and have something a little bit different. I think that they can be a really good tool. Of course, again, if you are someone who really struggles with getting in enough protein, then something like this, if you don't like typical whey protein shakes, something like this that is still a whey protein like only product can be a great way to meet those needs on top of the foods that you're already having throughout the day, right? So while I don't think that any of us should be swapping a protein soda for our daily protein at our meals or even at our regular snacks, I do think that there's definitely a time and a place where these can be a fun treat that also have that added recovery benefit. All right. So that is my thorough breakdown and review of the protein sodas and the whole protein soda trend. But I want to hear from you. Have you tried these? What do you think? You can find me over on Instagram at Steph the Runner's Dietitian. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I would also love to hear your recommendations. Because, like I said, I'm on board with this. I definitely think that they can be a really great choice. So if you have a brand, if you have a product, you have a flavor that you really love, then definitely share it with me, and hopefully I can find it in my city and give it a shot, and we can all share our recommendations. All right, that's it for this week's episode. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you over on Instagram and see you back here next week. Bye for now. On this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not to be used or relied upon for the diagnosis or treatment of any health condition. This information does not create a client-practitioner relationship and should not be used as a substitute for professional medical advice.